Let me ask you something, brother. Have you ever noticed that she seemed most in love with you when things were falling apart, when there was tension, when you were pulling away or she wasn't sure if you'd stay? And then the moment things stabilized, the moment you became consistent, reliable, fully present, something in her shifted. She got distant, restless, bored. Maybe she even accused you of changing, when the only thing that changed was that you stopped being a source of uncertainty. You've probably asked yourself, why does she only seem to want me when I'm halfway out the door? Why does my stability feel like a threat to her? Why am I being punished for being exactly the kind of man she claimed she wanted? These questions have haunted good men for generations, and the answers lie in something most people will never explain to you because it's uncomfortable, it's complex, and it shatters the romantic narrative we've all been fed. Here's the truth that will change. How you see every relationship you've ever been in. Many women have been neurologically conditioned to interpret emotional chaos as love, not consciously, not intentionally, but at the deepest level of their nervous system, they have learned that love should feel like anxiety, uncertainty, and the constant threat of loss. So when you show up with peace, loyalty, and emotional consistency, it doesn't register as love to her. It registers as something suspicious, something boring, something that must not be real, because real love in her programming should hurt. Today I'm going to take you inside this mechanism. I'm going to show you exactly why this happens, what's driving her behavior beneath the surface, and most importantly, how you respond as a man who refuses to let chaos define his relationships. Let's go deep. Here's the situation most good men find themselves in without understanding why. You meet a woman, you genuinely care about her, you show up consistently, you don't play games, you're present, loyal, emotionally available, you give her what you've been told women actually want: stability, safety, commitment, and for a while, things seem good, but then something shifts. She starts creating distance. Small arguments appear out of nowhere. She becomes critical of things that never bothered her before. There's a restlessness you can feel but can't explain. You try harder, you become more attentive, you ask what's wrong, you attempt to fix whatever invisible thing seems to be breaking, and it gets worse. She pulls back further. She says things like, "I don't know what's wrong, but something feels off." She tells you she misses how things used to be, but you're doing the exact same things you've always done. What she's really saying, though she doesn't have the language for it, is, "I miss feeling uncertain about you. I miss the anxiety. I miss not knowing if you'd stay." That's the pattern, and if you don't understand what's driving it, you'll spend years questioning your worth, changing yourself, trying to become something that will make her happy, when the truth is, your stability was never the problem. Her relationship with chaos is the problem. To understand this dynamic, you need to understand how the female nervous system can become wired for chaos. When a woman grows up in an environment where love was unpredictable, where the parent who should have provided safety was inconsistent, volatile, or emotionally unavailable, her nervous system learns to associate that unpredictability with attachment. This happens at a level beneath conscious thought. It becomes her baseline for what connection feels like. Then add the cultural programming. The movies where love is proven through dramatic gestures during moments of potential loss, the songs about heartbreak being the deepest form of passion, the social media narratives that equate jealousy with caring. By the time she's an adult, her nervous system has been trained to interpret certain physiological signals as love. What signals? The racing heart, the knot in the stomach, the inability to stop thinking about someone, the hypervigilance of wondering, does he still want me? But here's what most people don't realize. Those signals aren't love. They're stress responses. They're cortisol and adrenaline flooding her system. They're her body going into a mild state of survival mode, and she's been taught to interpret that survival response as romance. So when you, the calm and stable man, show up, you don't trigger those stress chemicals. Her heart doesn't race with anxiety. Her mind isn't consumed with uncertainty. Her body feels at ease, and her unconscious mind interprets that ease as absence. Absence of feeling, absence of passion, absence of love. Not because you're not providing love, but because her receptors are calibrated for chaos, and peace doesn't register on that frequency. Now, what I'm about to explain next is crucial, because this is where her internal confusion transforms into external behavior that will either pull you into her chaos or reveal whether you're the man who can hold his ground. Understanding this next part will save you from years of second-guessing yourself. When a woman conditioned for chaos finds herself in a stable situation, something uncomfortable happens inside her. The peace feels wrong. The consistency feels suspicious. The part of her that equates love with anxiety starts sounding alarms. Why am I not feeling anything? Why is this so easy? There must be something wrong. And so she does what her nervous system demands. She creates disturbance, not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. She'll pick a fight over something insignificant. She'll bring up a past issue that was already resolved. She'll become emotionally distant and wait to see how you respond. She'll mention another man's name and watch your reaction. What is she doing? She's trying to feel something. She's trying to generate the emotional intensity that her nervous system has been trained to interpret as proof of love. If you react with jealousy, relief, he cares. If you react with anger, intensity, there's passion here. If you chase her withdrawal, validation, he's afraid of losing me. Each of these responses gives her the emotional spike she's been missing. The problem is, they also pull you out of your center. They draw you into her chaos. They train her to believe that destabilizing you is how she should communicate her needs. And now you're both stuck in a pattern. She creates chaos to feel love, and you sacrifice your peace to prove love. That's the trap. Here's the brutal truth you need to hear. A woman who is addicted to chaos is not in love with you. She's in love with the feelings she experiences in relation to you. Specifically, she's in love with the fear of losing you, the uncertainty of having you, the drama of fighting and reconciling, the high of reunion after distance. This is why she seems most passionate during the makeup after a breakdown. This is why she appears most invested when you pull away. This is why she reaches out the moment you stop reaching out. It's not you she's chasing. It's the feeling, and as long as she remains unconscious to this pattern, she'll continue mistaking that feeling for love and continuing to sabotage every relationship that doesn't provide it. The man who treated her well, who showed up consistently, who didn't create anxiety, she'll remember him as nice, but there was no spark. The man who was emotionally unavailable, who kept her guessing, who maybe even disrespected her, she'll describe him as the one who really made me feel something. And she's not lying. He did make her feel something, but what she felt wasn't love. It was her nervous system in overdrive. It was trauma response masquerading as passion. The saddest part, she genuinely doesn't know the difference. Now here's where we need to go deeper, because understanding her pattern isn't enough. You need to understand where it came from and why your role isn't to fix it. What I'm about to share will shift how you see your responsibility in these dynamics. This pattern doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's learned, it's absorbed, it's imprinted through years of conditioning. Some women learned it from their fathers, men who were unpredictable, emotionally distant, or only present during moments of crisis. She learned that love looks like walking on eggshells. That connection requires constant management of someone else's mood. Some women learned it from their first relationships. The high school boyfriend who ran hot and cold. The college fling who only seemed interested when she was pulling away. She learned that if it's easy, it must not be valuable. Some women learned it from culture itself. The movies that show love as two people screaming at each other before a passionate kiss, the songs that glorify obsession and jealousy, the social narratives that treat boring as the worst thing a relationship can be. By the time she meets you, she's been through a decade or more of programming that tells her love hurts, love worries, love keeps you on edge, love makes you cry. So when you arrive with your calm presence, your emotional regulation, your lack of drama, you're speaking a language she literally doesn't understand. It's not that she rejects your love, it's that her system can't recognize it as love. You're offering peace to someone whose only reference point for connection is chaos. You're offering stability to someone whose nervous system screams danger when things feel too safe. And here's what you must understand. You cannot reprogram her. That's not your job. That's work she has to choose to do herself, often requiring years of intentional healing. Your only job is to not lose yourself. Trying. Let's talk about what this does to you, because if you're watching this, you've probably experienced it. The confusion, the self-doubt, the quiet devastation of being punished for your best qualities. You did what you were supposed to do. You were consistent, you were loyal, you were present. You gave her what every relationship expert says women want, and she left, or she became cold, or she chose the man who gave her less of everything, except uncertainty. That leaves a wound, a deep one. It whispers, you weren't exciting enough, you weren't enough. It makes you question whether your stability is actually a weakness, whether your emotional regulation is actually boring, whether you need to become more volatile, more unpredictable, more like the men who seem to hold her attention. Brother, hear me on this. That whisper is a lie. Your stability is not the problem. Your consistency is not boring. Your ability to remain calm when the world is chaotic is one of the most valuable traits a man can possess. The problem was never you. The problem was that you were offering the right thing to someone who wasn't ready to receive it. You gave her peace, but her hands were shaped for chaos. You offered her a harbor, but she only knew how to survive in storms. That's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of her healing journey, or the absence of it. What happens next in this dynamic is critical, because if you don't understand it, you'll fall into a trap that costs you your center, your boundaries, and eventually your self-respect. Stay with me here. Here's something that will shift your perspective entirely. To a woman who hasn't healed her relationship with chaos, your peace isn't just unexciting, it's threatening. Think about why. If she spent her whole life equating chaos with connection, your stability forces her to confront an uncomfortable question. What if everything I believed about love is wrong? That question is terrifying, because answering it honestly means examining her past. It means looking at the patterns she's repeated. It means admitting that what she called passion might have been dysfunction, that what she called chemistry might have been trauma. Most people don't want to face that, so instead of questioning their programming, they discard the messenger. That's you. The messenger who, by simply existing as a grounded man, reveals that there's another way to experience love. One that doesn't require suffering. She might call you boring. She might say there's no chemistry. She might claim something is missing, though she can't name what. But what she's really saying is, you're forcing me to look at myself and I'm not ready. So she leaves. She returns to the chaos that feels like home. She finds another man who triggers the familiar stress responses and calls it passion. And years later, after the chaos has worn her down, she might finally understand what she ran from. But by then, you'll be long gone, evolved, grounded, and building with someone who doesn't need anxiety to feel love. Now here's where I need to warn you. When you experience this pattern enough times, a temptation arises. A temptation to become what she responds to. You think, maybe I need to be less available. Maybe I need to create more uncertainty. Maybe I need to play games to hold her attention. Brother, do not go down that path. Yes, you might temporarily capture her interest by becoming unpredictable. You might trigger those stress responses she interprets as attraction. You might make her chase you by becoming emotionally unavailable. But do you know what you sacrifice in the process? Yourself. You lose your groundedness. You abandon your authenticity. You become a performer, a man who has to constantly calibrate his behavior to manufacture feelings in someone else. That's not masculine strength, that's imprisonment. And here's the truth about playing those games. Even if they work, you've now attracted a woman who responds to chaos, which means the moment you return to your natural state, calm, stable, consistent, she'll grow restless again. You haven't solved anything, you've just postponed the pattern. The only real solution is not to become chaotic, it's to become so rooted in your center that chaos cannot move you, and to filter for women who recognize peace as the gift it is. What I'm about to share next is the framework that changes everything. This is how you respond when you encounter this pattern, whether in a new relationship or one you're already in. This is the stance of the grounded man. When she creates chaos, when she tests your stability, when she tries to provoke a reaction, what do? Here's the principle. You hold your ground without holding her hostage. You don't chase the chaos. You don't escalate into drama. You don't abandon your center to prove you care. And you don't punish her with coldness or withdrawal. You simply remain who you are. If she pulls away, you give her space without chasing. If she picks a fight over nothing, you stay calm and refuse to engage at that level. If she tests you with jealousy or criticism, you address it once, firmly, clearly, and then you don't repeat yourself. This will feel uncomfortable, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that love means constantly proving yourself, constantly reassuring her, constantly managing her emotional state. But here's what holding your ground does. It forces a decision. Either she recognizes that she's the one creating unnecessary turbulence and she begins to heal her relationship with peace, or she decides that your stability isn't providing what she needs and she leaves. Both outcomes protect you. If she evolves, you get a partner who's doing her work, growing into someone capable of receiving healthy love. If she exits, you're freed from a cycle that would have drained you for years. The man who chases chaos gets neither. He just gets exhausted. Now, I need to make an important distinction. Not every woman who feels emotions deeply is addicted to chaos. Not every woman who has moments of anxiety is incapable of receiving peace. Femininity is inherently emotional. That's not pathology, that's nature. A healthy woman will have feelings, will sometimes need reassurance, will occasionally go through seasons of uncertainty. The difference is this: a healthy woman seeks emotional connection. A wounded woman seeks emotional control. A healthy woman will communicate her needs directly. A wounded woman will manufacture drama to extract a response. A healthy woman will appreciate your stability as a gift. A wounded woman will interpret it as indifference. A healthy woman will meet you halfway. A wounded woman will keep moving the target so you're always chasing. Your job as a man is to develop the discernment to tell the difference, and then to have the boundaries to act on that discernment. Some women are mid-journey. They have the wounds, but they're actively healing. They might occasionally slip into old patterns, but they catch themselves, they communicate, they take responsibility. These women are worth patience. Growth isn't linear, but the woman who refuses to examine her patterns, who blames you for not creating enough intensity, who needs you to be a source of anxiety to feel love, that's not a project. That's a warning sign. Let me paint you a picture now of what becomes possible when you stop accepting chaos as the price of love, and what kind of woman actually deserves access to your peace. She's out there, the woman who's done her work. Maybe she's been through the chaos herself. Maybe she dated the emotionally unavailable men, rode the roller coasters, confused anxiety for attraction. But at some point, she got tired. At some point, she looked in the mirror and asked, "Why do I keep choosing this?" And she did the work, the real work, the examining of her patterns, the healing of her wounds, the rewriting of her internal definition of love. When this woman meets you, the calm, stable, grounded man, she doesn't feel suspicious, she feels relief. Your consistency doesn't bore her, it settles her. Your emotional regulation doesn't feel like absence, it feels like safety. She doesn't need you to create drama to feel connected. She creates depth instead. Real conversations, genuine vulnerability, intimacy that doesn't require a crisis to appear. She leans into your peace rather than running from it. She recognizes that your calm isn't indifference, it's leadership. It's strength held in reserve. It's the foundation that allows her to finally stop performing and simply be. This woman doesn't test you with chaos, she meets you with maturity. And when she does have moments of insecurity, because all humans do, she communicates them directly. She doesn't manipulate, she doesn't manufacture drama. She says, "I'm feeling uncertain about this, can we talk?" That's the woman you build with. That's the woman who deserves access to your deepest self. And you won't find her by becoming chaotic, you'll find her by staying exactly who you are. Grounded, steady, centered, and letting everyone who can't handle that peace filter themselves out. So here's where we land, brother. You're not going to change her. You're not going to heal her. You're not going to love her so well that she suddenly stops needing chaos to feel alive. That transformation has to come from within her. It requires work that only she can do, and no amount of your stability, patience, or devotion can do it for her. What you can do is refuse to be pulled into the storm. You can hold your ground when she tests you. You can walk away when the pattern becomes clear. You can stop interpreting her chaos as passion and start seeing it for what it is: unhealed wounds looking for a place to bleed. And you can trust this: the more grounded you become, the more you will naturally filter out the women who need chaos to feel love. They'll find you boring. They'll say something's missing. They'll exit. Good. Let them. Because what's left when the chaos seekers leave are the women who recognize peace as rare, who see your consistency as strength, who don't need you to be a source of anxiety to know that you love them. Those women exist. They're waiting for a man who won't crumble, who won't perform, who won't sacrifice his center to manufacture feelings. That man is you, if you choose to be. So stop questioning whether your stability is the problem. Stop wondering if you need to become more volatile to hold her interest. Stop losing yourself in patterns that were never about your worth. Your peace is not a liability. It's the most valuable thing you offer. It's the very thing the right woman is searching for. And the man who masters his peace, who holds it, protects it, refuses to trade it for anyone's chaos, that man becomes untouchable. Not cold, not distant, just unshakable. He becomes the harbor in a world of storms, the man that chaos can't corrupt, the prize that drama can never win. And eventually, the woman who's truly ready will find him, not because he chased, not because he performed, but because he stayed exactly who he was while everyone else was pretending. That's your path, that's your power. Now walk it.